Hey there, welcome to the Reinsurance Podcast, the place where we dive into all things reinsurance, the coolest part of insurance. We're your hosts, Jared and Ben, a couple of ex-practitioners who loved the industry so much we founded Supercede to tackle some of its biggest headaches. And we're here to share our insights and stories with expert guests as we uncover what's really going on in the industry.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Reinsurance Podcast, live from Monte, Carlo. Delighted to have with us Ben Fox, who's the Chief Investment Officer for Members Capital Management. Welcome to the op, Ben. How are you?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm doing very well. It's a port in the storm. This is always a very busy time. So it's good to have a little bit of downtime and reflect and sort of share with you our experiences as well. Yeah, really excited for the conversation.
And we're really lucky to have you on the show because you're doing something a bit different from most people who are here, but you are from the industry originally. So how about you tell us a bit about your background from,
Sure, correct. Yeah, so 15, 16 years now in the industry, the grey hairs to prove it, and moved around a lot, both geographically and both in terms of kind of roles and responsibilities. And, more recently, and we'll kind of get on to the exciting stuff in a second, found myself historically working for sort of large institutional organisations where at times there was the opportunity to be innovative, but reinsurance, as I'm sure you'll appreciate, is a very idiosyncratic place to play and to operate. And more recently, having been able to take a little bit of time away and sort of reflect on personal ambitions and actually what I think be genuinely helpful and innovative in the industry as well. We've taken the time, some partners, to put together this Members Capital Management, and sharing the story here in Monte Carlo kind of firsthand with brokers, with cedents, prospective trading partners, with investors as well. And half a day in, but the reception has been great, and the intrigue levels are quite high. So yeah, really excited. Brilliant.
So with all that interest, you're going to have to tell us about it now, because you've whetted our appetite already. Yeah. So what does Members Cap do?
For sure. So you can think of Members Capital Management, or Members Cap. You've got to have a digital kind of handle. Is a fully licensed and regulated investment manager and fund in Bermuda. And you can think of us 10,000-foot view as an independent ILS manager. You and your listeners will be familiar with those. But when you zoom in a bit closer, our twist of lime is, as you mentioned, is the digital assets angle. And this kind of manifests itself basically in two different ways. On the one hand, we're seeking to solicit funds for deployment from a very non-traditional investor base, so a cohort of investors who are not familiar with reinsurance as an asset class. And that's great in and of itself, to be able to tell a story to somebody different. And I think if Members Capital Management achieves nothing else, having been able to raise funds from a non-traditional source and brought it to bear in the reinsurance sector, I think would be a great outcome. Typically, these investors they have backgrounds in fintech, so they are philosophically and economically long digital assets, long blockchain, things like this. So they really like the innovative, disruptive angle that we're looking to bring. And so that's how it kind of manifests itself on the capital side. And obviously, Monte Carlo, we're here to share our story, share why not only should the market think of us as a new and a differentiated source of capital, but also a stable long-term trading partner as well. And that's where the human element of reinsurance really kind of comes in. So it's very, very important to the business that partners here, potential partners here, see us, hear our story, understand what we're trying to achieve, and that hopefully why we can be trusted partners as well. The second part of the innovation is really how the fund itself is set up. We're dual denominated to accept funds not only in US dollars but also in USDC, the stablecoin, which is super exciting for us. Really then the story is, so what does that mean for prospective clients, for prospective cedents? Now, to sort of quote my inner Tony Blair, education. We've been doing a lot on the investor side. We're doing a huge amount at the moment to the market itself to explain what this source of capital, what this source of security looks like, why it can be trusted, and also why it can grow and why it can be a long-term source of support to the client. So a long way to go, in the same sense that I was saying that we're able to solicit funds both in digital form and in fiat form. We're also able to deploy both ways as well. Obviously, we've got ourselves and our investors have a strong expectations, too strong a word, a strong desire to be able to deploy in digital asset form, so basically taking a digital dollar, putting it in a smart contract on a blockchain and having that be the security behind an underlying reinsurance contract. It's going to take a little bit of time to get everybody comfortable with that, but the conversations start now. 2 tracks for us really between now and the end of the year. Obviously the capital raising is in full flow, it's going great, our story is being received very well, so we're super optimistic about what that can mean for 1/1 deployment. And then at the same time, my role as Chief Investment Officer is to make sure that we can do something responsible with the funds, and that's exactly what these conversations are about now, to sort of not only to solicit information from prospective cedents, share our story as well, and hopefully take the cedents along the journey that we're going on ourselves as well.
Amazing. This could be a whole new chapter, I guess, in alternative capital, right? Because you've had you look back over the last decade, we had a really big growth at the beginning in general alternative capital, and it's kind of plateaued a bit, it feels, recently. It's been very stable. It's been quite sticky. You know, we've got lots of people who are now comfortable with alternative capital. Are they ready for the next version of alternative capital?
Well, I mean, look, there's an educational process. Everywhere else you look in across the sort of financial sector, you see increased digitization, increased tokenization, and there's no reason that can't be the same with reinsurance. To your point, I think if you go back far enough, and this is probably 20 years plus back into the past, the concept of collateralized fiat reinsurance kind of blew people's minds. I can trade with somebody other than a rated balance sheet. This is just, in Ray Dalio's words, this is just another version of that. It's another one of those. So hopefully the ambition is, we're sitting here in 10 or 15 years' time, Ben, and we're looking back and saying that actually was. We had the rated side, we had the fiat collateralized, and now we have the digital collateralized as well.
Makes sense.
That's the ambition.
Yeah, brilliant. And you've been based in Bermuda for a number of years. Does that help your sort of founding story and growth? Natural home for it, I guess? Correct,
I think so. I mean, we've obviously been working very closely with the regulator, and obviously being one of the large global markets is very, very helpful. Investors like to see that. They like to see that we're plugged into the market as well. And a really, really interesting time for us to be doing this in Bermuda as well. If you think about the sorts of things that the government and the regulator there are very long on, they're long reinsurance, they're long ILS, and they're also increasingly long on digital assets. This really sits at the intersection of both, so we're getting a lot of support there as well, and long may it continue.
Yeah, certainly. I'm very excited to see where it goes. Obviously, only announced a week or two ago, it feels like, officially. So how does it feel being out there in public as, officially starting a new thing?
Yeah, you're almost going to make me smile now. It's great. It is. Listen, it's great. This is something that we've been mulling over and thinking about for several months now. And everything started to come together at the start of this year. We got to the point with the regulator where we got all the licensing, everything we needed on that side was taken care of in Q2. And it's actually kind of a weight. It's sort of a nice weight off the shoulders. The reception here, candidly, has been phenomenal. Everybody we've met with has been supportive, both on a personal and professional terms, and are just genuinely excited to see what we do. So suppress expectation is the sort of the golden rule of management consultancy. So there's a little bit about that. We're super excited about the opportunity. We're super excited about raising into 1/1 and deploying through 1/1, and just continuing to tell our story. So it's exciting times.
Amazing. So I'm obviously super excited for Members Cap, but aside from that, you're one of the rare people I can ask on the show who's got multiple perspectives on the industry, right? So you've got this new way of looking at things, but also a bit of the past way of looking at things as well. What do you make of the big trends here at the conference?
Okay, good question. Well, and people that know me well, this won't come as a surprise. Somewhat worryingly, I've been spending most of the conference talking rather than listening as well. I mean, it's always hard to make predictions about capital. We're not even halfway through the hurricane season yet as well. So there's a degree to which this is going to be a slightly underwhelming answer for you and your listeners. I think we've been so focused on ourselves and making sure that we're crafting our story. But interestingly, to your point, it's got to be delivered and it's got to be received against a wider backdrop. And one of the interesting places the conversations are going at the moment is if we get to the end of a hurricane season and this is a market that is doesn't require capital, don't require your capital, then that really requires our counterparts, our trading partners, to buy in philosophically to what we're trying to do as well. And for some, it's going to be a heavy lift. That's totally fine, and we're happy, again, as I said earlier, we're happy to take them on the journey. So I think, as with anything, kind of capital is king. Somebody could look at this, an enterprise like ours, and say, well, you're just another source of capital at the moment. Exactly the purpose of being here is to demonstrate that's not the case, and also to very respectfully remind people that it wasn't that long ago in 2022 when actually if somebody came along with €5, the brokers and the cedents would have snatched your hands off. So we'll come along with 5 digital euros and see how we're received. So just really exciting times.
I'm sure there's a huge amount of groundwork for you to be getting on with in the meantime. Regardless of what happens this renewal, you've got many more to come.
That's true. Well, look, we hope so. It's been a consistent theme with conversations over the last day or so. Has been a sharing of appetites on both sides, and from members' capital management perspective, we've got a very clear risk appetite on behalf of our investors that we want to share now. And candidly, it's quite conservative. It's probably one of the things just to mention kind of briefly is there's when people hear what we're doing, there's a lot of sort of preconceptions that come with it. Some better than fact, some not. And one is definitely around the risk appetite of our investors. And I think it sort of naturally follows that, well, if your investors are people who are sort of big on digital assets and 10x this, et cetera, that surely their risk tolerance in this particular market would be necessarily higher than the average. And actually, it's completely the opposite.
Interesting.
When you sit on a digital asset treasury that's got a volatility profile that looks something like this on a daily basis, actually that kind of sort of sleep at night protection, no surprises, is exactly what they want. So sharing that message with the market, and at times, and that might mean that we end up looking to deploy in maybe a particularly more crowded area of the market. And for brokers at the moment, when there's a lot of capital around, that can become challenging. So that's when everything else comes along. It's not just about now. It's not just about this line size now. It's about it being 2x next year, maybe 4x after that, et cetera, et cetera. So if we can get people to buy into what we're doing as well, I think it sets us up for long-term success.
Amazing. Well, I'm really looking forward to seeing the portfolio develop and your partners grow across the market. And hopefully we'll catch you again at the next Monte Carlo to see how the first year has gone.
Super. Yeah, I look forward to it.
Brilliant. Thanks for coming on the show, Ben.
No worries. Thank you very much, Ben.
Thanks for tuning in to the Reinsurance Podcast. If you enjoyed our show, don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a review to let us know how we're doing, preferably 5 stars. For more insights and updates, follow us on LinkedIn and visit our website at supercede.com/podcasts. You'll find the links in the show notes.